Hey, John Thomas here from Nestpoint with my weekly update. Okay, couple things on the political front I'm tracking. One is the ad spend. That to me is one of the most interesting things other than polling. Here's what's fascinating. So up until this point, Kamala Harris has had a significant ad advantage over Donald Trump, $62 million spend ad advantage in swing states. But just today, the reservations for the balance of the battlegrounds are now relatively close. Kamala Harris has 94 million in battlegrounds on television. Donald Trump has 89 million in battlegrounds. So that's actually, if you're a Trump fan, that should be encouraging. But what it doesn't tell you, obviously, is the whole story. Kamala's spending a lot more, I think, on a ground game level than Donald Trump. But if you just look at the ad wars, Trump's not really giving too much ground, particularly in the place of they're almost neck and neck even here. Most of the money, though, I have maintained since day one, is going to Pennsylvania, still is. If you look at the race for the House and president, 316 million is going to Pennsylvania. That's 122 million more than the closest swing state, which is Michigan. It just shows you the magnitude of importance, both for the Senate and the presidency of the state of Pennsylvania. So all eyes are still on Pennsylvania. Trump's trying to hang on tight, but it's tough. He is getting out fundraised by Kamala Harris. And so that means that he's got to make a series of trade-offs that are not pretty. He seems to be trading off his field organization, so he's not investing heavily in that, to fighting ad wars. Kamala seems to be able to do it both, which is a significant advantage, especially if the polls are to be believed, and it's as tight as they suggest. The other interesting thing I've been noticing is how both campaigns for president have been using China as a punching bag. It's quite interesting. Biden-Harris, the administration, leaked on Friday of last week, the Journal covered it today, that the Biden-Harris's Commerce Department is going to go after China to block them from supplying car parts dealing with electronics, specifically for self-driving vehicles, as that's a national security threat. The Justice Department has been going after other Chinese companies. Make no mistake that every single decision that an incumbent administration, when it's running for re-elect, and Harris is essentially running for re-elect, every single executive move that they make is designed to help them for their upcoming election when you're this close to an election. So that means that the Harris team believes that punching China is a win. Donald Trump believes the same thing. He's gone heavily on this concept of tariffs. I think Trump actually does believe that to his core philosophy, and it happens to be good electoral politics. I don't know that the Harris team, I don't know that that's integral to their philosophical leanings, but it's an indication that it's good politics in America, is to bash China. That's not going away simply after November. We'll see what happens from a governance standpoint. I suspect at least some show of force initially from both either a Trump administration or Harris administration, and tensions probably to continue, especially if geopolitical tensions continue. But it is quite fascinating that both parties seem to agree on varying degrees of severity, but they both seem to agree that China is taking advantage of the U.S. economically, and the U.S. has to get tougher on China. And so I would just expect those tensions to keep bubbling and bubbling in future election cycles. So that's it for now. We'll watch if some kind of bombshell breaks, but the cake seems to kind of be baked at this point. It's a tight race, or it may just come down to base enthusiasm. If polling is to be believed, hard to say because all the polls are within the margin of error. What has been consistent is that if voters are pulling the lever based upon personality, Kamala Harris wins. If voters are pulling the lever, particularly in Pennsylvania, based upon policy, Donald Trump has had a significant, meaningful edge, sometimes 10 points or more. So really, it's going to come down to what animates these voters' decisions in the key state of Pennsylvania. Is it policy or is it personality? TBD. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll have more. I'm John Thomas from Nestpoint, and have a great week.